once.
All right. You're about to listen to the Free American, John Kaminski. Probably Art likes to sleep in there. And they kept blocking this for the last 10 years, and it didn't work anymore.
Oh, God. Oh, God. YouTube. That's why they call it YouTube.
Get them or not.
1 minute until showtime.
Trump is
Phyllis Schlafly.
Phyllis Schlafly, yeah, and another one by another article by the Treasury Secretary, former
Roberts.
What is it?
Oh, Paul Craig Roberts.
Paul Craig Roberts. You think he's money to be bought off?
Supposedly he was meeting with Sheldon Adelson yesterday.
Oh boy, yeah. Then Paul Craig Roberts said, "You say he's got 10 million? So what? Putin's got 20 million, you know, 20 billion or something like that, you know."
20 billion. Trump said he was
Your
worth
show will go live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Are you with me, William?
Yep. Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a world order. The new world order does not surrendering our national sovereignty or forfeiting our interests. He's been called controversial. How can I convince you when your ears are down?
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
I met those guys if they're listening. Or you go have a problem, maybe you'll learn something.
We both have the same thing. You know, to defend the Constitution against all unreasonable foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
Clay Douglas. That's real America. The Pacific. Well, the podcast is more details. www.com. It's the podcast by phone by calling 832-999.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. I am your host. I am Clay Douglas. And just to avoid any of you trolls there that want to think that I'm stuck in a rut or I don't know what I'm talking about, I brought a couple of guests on today. Is William Blair. Hello, William.
Good morning.
William Blair formed Infrspect Media International that includes a media group and spokesperson believability rating system. I'll be curious to know how we rate on that scale later on, William. The believability rating system was established in 2014 to respond to the advanced public perception management campaigns relying upon methods of thought reform, mind control, conversational hypnosis, Delphi cult techniques, values, and brainwashing. And we're going to be talking over our collaborative governance protocols of the Capstone Interoperability Doctrine, which commingles the military D5E protocols and the UN, which you may, whether you know it or not, or if you're not aware of it, you better tell your friends to tune in, is an eternal religious corporation, civilian, parliamentary form of authoritarian force of law. This discussion particularly involves the United Nations Eternal Religious Corporation, i.e. that temple of understanding. We've got inclusionary effect of visa via the UN Human Rights Council, collusive presumptions on the social and political rights of the indigenous people. And, you know, before you think cowboys and Indians, I consider myself an indigenous person here. I was here, I'm an indigenous Texan. So, let's keep. One of my regular guests, John Kaminski, he is joining us, and I here his latest Good Hearts by John Kaminski. He says, we know that this is a difficult concept for people who've been trained to work grasp, but money is an arbitrary product made from gold or plastic or glass, whether it's in the form of a coin or accounting ledger, different kinds, and let these compete like different varieties of chocolate bar versus the yen. It's to put their faith in money and in external forms, to idolize it as a false god, when in fact it's a humdrum data. And who determines the present circumstances proves, and his 8,000 years of history provides, universally and inexorably corrupted by it and reduced to being dishonest, profit mongering, white collar thieves. And
Clayton.
Yes, sir.
I didn't write that.
You didn't.
You must not have read to the bottom.
I may not have, but you.
That was written by Judge Ann. She's featured. I urge everyone to read, and we'll talk more about that later.
All right. Well, I do have it properly. onreach.com, criminals on our shores PDF. It's her thing, and that's it's there. I'm sorry, it was so good. I thought it was.
It is good. It's better than me. And I also wanted to say hello, William. It's been ages since I've talked to
The files just get thicker and thicker. The point where we started taking it as thick as your brief. Third, I want to make sure we have pull up right away. On this particular program.
Good.
Let me see if I can get your volume up a bit with my audio settings here. We'll see if I'll try on that. I don't know if I can get it up any more than that. I can turn this up. Maybe that'll do it. The lot of information is going across the internet. Politicians here trying to talk down Donald Trump, and then you've got a few that are that's Art. Hello, Art. Good morning. You're on with John Kaminski and
Hello, Art.
And what we talked about the other day was I kind of sound like a broken record on this. I think Liberty Village is a way that we could work together. I designed it around the Indigenous villages of the 200 years ago, because I felt that it worked. I worked for 100 years first, but bankers in there, we've got the lawyers in there, the politicians in there, and they're the same ones responsible for slaughtering the whole food supply of the indigenous Americans. Where do you want to go with this, William? You're the work of Infrspect.
Let's have Art. Go ahead, Art. Baba, hello. That's among now. One milky, Palo. Either. No.
How's that?
Yeah. Go to get them. Chris. John. William. Blair. Go to get them. Oh no. Kesha. Okay. First, I have a thing that I want to say to begin this because we've gone through a lot of information for the numbers lately, and I will say good morning to John, which is good morning, John.
Hello, Art. What did you just say?
I'm glad you're here today.
What were you just speaking?
That's my native language on Washoe.
Washoe?
And we always say a prayer and talk to the Spirit for the commence any kind of counsel, so that the Spirit that is always amongst all that the Spirit is popular and included, so that we speak by the heart and speak with as much truth as possible, and the Spirit itself will come into the focus if we as humans start to begin to talk only on a linear level, because we're all here together here on this earth.
You know, it's strange, Art, John. I get there's a very peaceful, relaxing listening to Art speaking a language I have no concept of, and it feels as good as listening to going to the Catholic Church and listening to the bathrobed bell ringers, you know.
Yeah, and you know, what I'm saying here also represents that William has done a really fine job at describing and allowing us to be educated on a higher level of consciousness from where this country and the laws and the whole established system is excluding the Spirit. So when I speak and when I say these things, I'm coming apart. I've been raised as a nation's person, believing in the Spirit and the land and the water being included. And when I say these things, we'll take note of it. First Nations people have been, from the very beginning, told the old ways will never be again. And back then, they said the way we believe were bad ways to believe in. So we had to change, even by force. Now, today, after all those years passed, the persecution was done. The new world now adopted and adapts those same old traditions and beliefs that the First Nations people had in their design today. And with so many saying, I'm Indian. My grandfather was a princess or a chief, and had feathers or green hanging in their cars. And for those who are still here, the First Nations people are ignored of our survival, of our inclusion, by our own accord to the First Nations' great design in America, the American dream. So much atrocities, wrongs done in the past, family and place, natural world, and along with the stolen resources that reach the advanced space program and many, many more advances in archaeology, along with wealth and looting and fortunes to the immigrants who came here that were claimed acquired from this continent that no one wants to talk about. While this country moves forward with this design of progress development, a nation of people who survived elimination, annihilation, watches, and witnesses the desecration, destruction of our ancestors are buried, and the earth, air, water, and animal are destroyed. We're building golf courses on our grave sites, and cities on our village sites, and rural areas. Animals have no more places to go for food or water, and now are returning dumps, and with homeless and hungry throughout the nation. Those First Nation people like myself and others have been taught, given hope that someday our people and the beliefs, the ways that we were would return and continue one day. And as those of us who try to bring consciousness to teaching fact, we face the new world and the ignorance of those who may not and cannot understand such heartfelt beliefs, haven't and willingly not ever to let us be. What we have today is in the world, the lawyers, the government, the states, the Interior Department, the military, the agencies, who don't believe that First Nation relatives will ever return to their own nation. And the First Nations families depend on welfare subsidies given to them by corporate governments, to even the extent that if any was to try to conceive, believe, support, would be subjected to those subsidies if they were to do so. And those who would give this info or knowledge and beliefs, teachings of oral would also be threatened as dissenters. People of today need to know, no matter how long a new world inhabits the land, the old world will continue to want to surface. Because a lot of the old knowledge was real. And that system, which had values and morality, was a good system. And for those like the First Nations, if and when we go back to those sort of, it would only be a matter of time. It would be a matter of time before time would tell the tale. Show a way of life, of respect, honesty, integrity, had honor, which was attached to it. What that would look like.
All right, let me interrupt you. Sure, go ahead.
I believe in those control and those with power over us don't ever want the First Nations to claim their equal place here on Earth. And that's why they distort the information and the facts to what is real and truth to how we are structured and what history is, especially here in North and Central and South America. Infraspect's assessment of the UN shows and proves what is being presented, pushed on all Indigenous. And as we go through this document or assessment, listen to the worm and fuzz their part, and the harsh and directness of the. It's really important that we all understand making this up, and what is being presented is a seriously. Where we come to a resolve, the remedy that is right in front of us all. Correct when done, that would people, the spirit of man, woman, and the natural laws we live by.
I don't believe there's any question to the fact that the Indigenous Americans, we've been subjected. It's also relevant that white folks here, born here and raised in Texas, we are being subjected to genocide. We're here.
So we lost somebody, I think.
I lost some. Let me bring William Blair back. my audience that the enemy divide and conquer, and they're I think this is what because the outside forces and the UN here in his report from Infrspect that John and I are for pointing at certain groups of people that are responsible for our and our media, the control of the media here. It's an attempt to side and make us irrelevant. What can we do? What are we facing? It's not just the American Indigenous people. We're all threatened by
Well, okay, we'll pick it up from Art's words as he's commenced deliberation, because we're deliberating on a bunch. First of all, I don't recommend anybody get together. That probably a problem. People are so busy themselves. They, under a theory of quantity, if they lose their things that they cannot qualify, such as values. To watch people, the sophist, the operative journals push constantly for in common. The reason is they're not really talking about in common. They're talking about something else. They're talking about being collective and so forth. If you do not have a solid individual, you don't have any form of solidarity or anything else like that will stand. It will not. The people that want everybody on the same page really don't say anything that has any meaning in this. It's find those words are symbols. If I were to be furious about the lack character that all of the corporate listen to them and to their lack of sand. So we have the UN Charter. Say this. What two words are missing from the United States? Some woman from the UN on the Indigenous rights. Why aren't they there? Why are those words not in Black's Law Dictionary? Why does man and woman not appear in Black's Law Dictionary? Well, we'll just pursue this a little bit. They're not there. You can page check it. You can get it, and on and so forth. There's another word two other words that are very important in our operation on these words today. One of the words that's in there in great detail is person. There's all kinds of things that apply. Bankruptcy. There's corporation. There's foreign government. There's there's illegitimate child, there's interested persons, there's municipalities, protected person, there's unborn child, there's resident alien, and the other stands on this word person. Now, the reason Art is speaking is, and he said it, and you said it yourself this morning, you confessed this. You said that there's something in the spirit you could comprehend language that you could not literally speak. But you comprehend it, and whether you call it the field or the spirit, it's there. So if we go back in and we look at Black's Law Dictionary, which the bar lawyers from the United States Corporation go by, it's the Bible, you'll find the word spiritual in there. But that word spiritual in what those lawyers say has absolutely nothing to do with the soul of a man or a woman, or a natural person, an original being, an indigenous person, but more so it goes strictly and right to the words of being related to a religious or ecclesiastical person or affairs. And as it goes from there to business matters, from there to as to spiritual corporation, courts, lords. Now we just slow the pace down. Okay, we've talked about persons, man and woman, and all of these aspects. Person, all the way back into pre-Rome. And we find this spiritual corporation. So when we look at the United Nations Charter, the United Nations is United Nations eternal. The United Nations has a secular, very purposeful temple of understanding. Anyone who understands words such as Caesarian or Jordan Maxwell and all these people, they can tell you what these mean throughout the ages. Go right into this UN document, and I can expand on what we've found and examined. And this document, I'll just recap very briefly. The document is written by people with religious corporation personalities. The three authors, the ones who actually did the writing and the final decision on the words, were certainly corporate personalities. What part and as are addressed this morning already, is that there was a first instance in people. There was a natural birthright. There was posterity. There was individual personality. There was place to create a life. There were family, community, so forth. We see coming forward in the Charter, which controls the UN Declaration on the rights of indigenous peoples, meaning collectively. There's a common thread where it was going. It was like a business plan, just like some people relate to the Bible. No matter how esoteric, emotionally drives the attention of the reader, it goes to the state. As we go through the articles, it's going to pick off some of the preamble preface to the. And when you look at the U.S. Constitution, looking at a very interesting relationship to constitutions. There are 5 constitutions that are defined types. The word codex, C-O-D-E-X, you'll hear a lot and specialized into really into
health
matters and health organizations, local.
The code really is a collective
of all the constitutions,
and it comes through from the Roman
Caesars, the empire history,
monarchies, into modern day decision makers.
The preamble of the United States Constitution
on purpose, meaning interpret this as a real person.
The market standard, it was values neutral.
It was the general welfare.
The Pope,
the satanic, the Constitution, organization, the national religious organization, in fact, alienated a constitution. Very interesting,
because
Vatican, the United
States
that it became a satanic instrument. Face value, the amendments. Back to the
candidates'
omission. See if
together
you're a transgender, transhuman, all of these
things that are real
into the United Nations Declaration
of the Rights of Indigenous people.
The words are encoded. In other words, when we wrote this, and we had a lot of discussions and a lot of input about words, or in our in other words, can pick it off like a code within a document. No different than what tied to the message across in code. The numbers. What are God tones? What are things that people knew all the way back prehistory in North America? Or would you like to?
All right, just a minute.
Yeah.
Let me ask.
Go ahead.
To you, is this do any here? Is the Catholic built around? Is that
but the nature of so difficult to get people our lives miserable. That's the reason perpetrated against is religion. Else, and two men say this morning, B is on their view of the world. Now, they have a system that works for them. I find it the most beautiful spiritual picture ever painted by anybody in the world. 95% of the people would have no patience with what they're saying because it is dogmatic behavioral treatment that they've received throughout their lives. So I think rather than art and will to make their better known world what they believe, I have to do it the hard way and listen to believes and then try to improve upon it. Believe and point to these people belief system is better than some of the in you want to call them that past 10 or 15 by as the feel about and so to lots of government also splintered along. Couldn't my been to construct a coalition taking over the whole world at this point, in my opinion. And that was impossible to have their own beliefs that led them to be paranoid of everyone else. Putting together a coalition believers in their own way. A common goal to make the world a better place. That's not to religious beliefs, which all seem to achieve the ways of expression. Sincere as art are not going to be most of the rest of the world, even though forth problem that we're all trying to make the world a better place. I don't know if you follow all that. But,
I follow that perfectly because I found it.
Of all of the groups packed in together, your audience, and belief systems is not going to work. I've arrived at removed public debate on how to fix the world, and we need to try to determine what could possibly be a common goal. And I personally think that I'm hot on is something that the Senate website, there's another anti-corruption system that are able to prove that state's government is so oppressive to us that they've committed a number of illegalities over. And this is that is to indict the whole federal government and bring it down to a more equitable system of governance.
As pointed out,
But the minute you get legal analysis, religion is individual choice. And from past to arrive at our own society.
from my point of view here, the UN, I've heard him talk about the years and their control, even into this whole country. Not of the bankers, by the bankers, and for the bankers. How do we counter that? In San Antonio and New Mexico, and I got one, I guess you could call him a troll, little old lady, more than likely have. What you're saying here, my grandmother's Jewish. My grandmother's Jewish. It can't be the Jews. The Jews can't be bad. Well, we have to. That we are at here. We are in threat here. This is one of the things we. Are if you figure genetically modified crap that they're feeding children here, they probably kill more people. We you're at an enemy, you do a good job. In my opinion,
That's pretty clear. Oh, we're all guilty. We're all guilty of ourselves. As what has led to this heartless, spiritless society that we. And but what I'm saying, in order to somewhat universal clear up the empirical problem first, and the empirical problem, the criminal class that caters to our own greed has taken over. Yes, we are going to have to inject spirit into that at some point to make that run rightly, but of this criminal conspiracy world since the dawn of time, really.
That's right. If you go back and read the Old Testament, just take the babies, smash them against. That doesn't sound like the God of Jesus or I'd want to work.
He's a bad.
Do you want me to respond?
Yes, sir.
Before you,
Let me present this scenario, really, that we white people overrun the native peoples us how to avoid becoming dispossessed in the that the Native Americans have been dispossessed. And that is extremely ironic.
What goes around comes around, huh?
Very on the record because I understand how traveling occurs, dialogue and conversations in a Delphi technique, and the bandwagon effect, and the status conscious dialogue occurs. So I'm going to start with this. One, Infrspect was founded on some very clear 22 articles. There we go by those. None of those articles recite to enforce I'll give you an example to offset what I hear in speech encoding, predictive programming, and a dialogue that literally as it is spoken, I'm writing it down on a believability rating and what instruments are being applied. And as Clayton said earlier, and if I rate that by criteria throughout the human symbolic ideas. The jihad competition that's going on, there's this delusion that they're religious, and then there's the corporate, and then there's this and that. And I pointed out already from the that various corporations claim spirituality, while the individual is not there. Of the United Nations is conformity, differences between differences. Say dispute, didn't say adversarial situations, but differences. And why are these differences known to the UN? Why did Chisholm say, well, we'll always have warring cultures, and if somebody's trying to universalize their morality, it would because of the bandwagon effect. Got to make the understand. There'll be a lot of teachers out there helping. Master auditor and business affairs stand the delusion is that this jihad, and then there's this jihad, and there's jihad, and then there's the jihad that hasn't even been invented yet. A reason way, and that is the to law, 3 science, and 4 get our political persuasions, meaning such as collaborative governance. A lot of the words that John has been exposed to are out of the collaborative design. Literally, I can check it off down the line, Delphi technique. So what I'm going to say is this. Auditors, they no more than we are. Those who do not disagree with this would search for the low-hanging fruit, the common, such as illustrated in the reality. I'm going to compare this because I know there's adversarial people out there that would just find fault on a level them. You don't have proof. You have a group of people get together and that's obstacle, which drives the bar brothers on the bond, reapers of the soul. Now, this they don't have proof for fact, but nobody addresses coefficients. What are the that? It means theory, and it means theology, and all. We have theory on all parts of the. The finger is pointed at those with low status knowledge, such as and really they've just been exposed to sumptuary class within the dysfunction of consumerism and so forth. Now, on the other side of the fence is those people who they're examine. They'll through ragtag fleets orchestrate the structured conflicts and controlled opposition. I think want to be an see who has preached sound science and so forth. And I spent exhibits, scientific exhibits, not notions, not beliefs, but what's going on. I found this. Margaret Thatcher is the creator of IP. Credulity more. Principle, the experts under expert elicitation said words, and this was in your mission agency documents and finding documents. We're going to go with no data on now. Now, what did I just say? I said we don't need proof of fact. We just need our opinion. An opinion is what you say to defray a person's observation. All of my detailed auditors are opinion. That's number one. Do not use the word belief or reasonable belief for that phrase. Measure we may not be common because history pre-Egypt. Now, in common is not what's going on. In common is what people say they want. Now, the indigenous people interview to regard the differences. Common purpose. We're going to fail, and that marriage is going to dissolve. What happens is you have in common between adverse parties. Do not attempt to. The problem is that people cannot understand the covenant of liberty from a social contract. And what is going on in the active mindset, the agent mindset of movements, is we're all trying to get together. We're all going to be on the same page, but reading the wrong book. By how much regard there is, how much you stand down. And I've been looked at by chiefs, and I've been given my attache belt and a title and a name. And I've had chiefs look me square in the eyes when I knew I could take down that down while spiritual matter. And it goes to personal. What is going to those people engaged in structure positions are going to show their hand of consensus reality. Apart when it's no longer reality. Because this office have gone to work on reality, and you have to make up your own reality, all that. So let me just say this. Caution this dialogue. They want. We're on the record, not only listen to this conversation later. From the continuity of interest. Find it their person is paid if they're a volunteer in a non-profit or anything like this. That's who they are. With indigenous spirit. And there's no traveling. First of all, if people are going to use the word Jewish around me, or Jew, I'll $100 right now. Fact of the word. So it's wasting get deck. We don't represent me without my signature. They've got facts. But we're certain that read and will they ever and the value determine that because they're reading wrong book, trying to get on the seminary page. When we're the day, Art will go over his word. But we're not going to go out. Keys, lasers, or and that needs very carefully understood. They were intended to count on it because things. Especially the
the individual
sovereign
person's
intrinsic personality.
People
get around
us,
and they really taking not what nation and how this conversation proceeds ourselves and go about our daily tasks. So we talk about and email the hand on this that group handed. We look at the UN for what it is and prove it by evidence and fact. Frank, if we told said I can save the planet. And they said, well, how much UN as it is. Well, what did I say? No. What will you? Sounding good, feely, fluffy things that these things, these entities. Purpose is ominous for the sake of power. Either we go back on track or we will listen patiently to what everybody has to say, Fellows and John and Clayton. Will examine you. As auditors before barristers and legal counsel. And they will discuss after conversation. Because our words are not vindictive, they're not mean-spirited. No, we on that like to have
by formed by the you solve one thing, how do you take out the UN without being able to identify the behind it? And I'm not talking
the issue
is not those are obsolete models. The issue that's codified governance. And that is in the it's in system. It is state system, county system, municipal system, all of it. To come to programming bandwagon effect. That is conscious level effect. And actually hear what I just said. Regimes. Minister.
Collaborative governance that killed 60 million Russians hands of the Bolsheviks.
Yeah, collaborative governance been around a long time. governance. Now, what you have in Black's Law Dictionary is now I'll tell you about and war is not about just you kill. War is about killed everybody. And in 1945, post rounded up, and they were put to the firing squad. And then those people that Jewish commingled, went in the street a whole more, and then a whole bunch disappeared. Ideologies to be the same. Meanderings of the presidential candidates. You find me a president, senator, being blamed for being government. I'm going to say that all phases and every step away point of genocide, killing. Most people of supporting
Sure.
Sir.
What do you think? What do you? I don't know. If we don't identify an enemy, all a little vague to me. Governments is who do I have? I mean, I'm ready to do. I want to see grand. I'm not getting any of that from William here. I'm not understanding that, I guess. The other thing is, I've talked to William and Art. I like the idea of a native village, of an indigenous American village. I'd like to find, I wouldn't live in a TP. I wouldn't mind renting TPs out or going down the road. But every time I bring that up, they start telling me about the lawyers. Well, the lawyers won't let you do that. Well, the lawyers won't let you do that. We've got to do something. We've got to do something about this. I want to do something. I'm tired
of the lady in Fort Myers who had a house in the middle of town. They just wouldn't let her do it. An answer to thought of our own death lines it all entire say in past year spent a lot of time reading Williams, and it's kind of like reading a lot. Wondering what it really read, and I guess that some degree conditioned into compartment and school period like tells us. Can't really think about for very long. We've lost our ability to contemplate. So he is with William who are trying to tell us that communicate with 95% of the population. To do is act on principle, because if one thing that's missing in the world is people acting on principle. Money has become every better than Native Americans. But again, this conversation to unite faction. World, at least on a superficial level, more than 100 years. Stolen everything from everybody to the point now where our personalities pain thing or another. And moment at 9/11 when if people would have listened to the skeptics who were saying the official story where the world has discovered that the United States is funding ISIS to destroy the nation of Syria, and yet the president gets up cognitive dissonance, and people's see these terror people shooting people. In many cases, nobody died, and the cases where people died. So my immediate concern, and to Art and William, it may seem like a through this level of partiality that grips the population, and somehow I don't know if it returns us to the state, because I don't know if human society was ever really there to act in a real way toward the world. Where we're not being constantly bamboozled and forced to eat poison food, take bad medicine, and so I'm and I would not disagree that maybe Infrspect guys have the right idea of just closely examining everything we think missteps from that approach, but in knowing what I know about the real world, there aren't people you're going to be able to convince them, because their attention spans have been so shrunken for our lifetimes.
Is what you're saying here that they're examining do I go on? Here, I'm capable of defense. I'm a soldier. I down 8 yards.
Well, we've many society.
I'd like to take this gentleman and say one thing so it'll help. Barriers and so forth. But remember this, a jury all itself. It thinks in indicting someone for something. And it uses to such that there will, when people understand the extent
holographic or forensic images. What they believe. And I are speaking with people across languages. Sometimes we get beyond the words, and I can certainly tell you about this. And when he speaks to me and I speak to him, the reason we so good is we're walking our talk and our values. So Art and I are examples to each other, and together in that we are not a partnership. And as the fascism model proceeds, it requires killing. That is a paternal, a particular secular religious mandate that you must collectively punish people, as you see going on everywhere. But when I look at this back up very much.
It's really important here. Where do we go from here? And how we do this one on Nation 8. Start with what most countries don't see a lot on the part of the illusion. Have convictions, and it came with courage. And right now the courage of years from the very beginning of the treaty era. And so when we're always comes to me, and here in the back is that the same way. And structure with all the atrocities that have happened to us in our family. Move forward and say, well, now we have to work with what we got. Well, the answer is the original people sound close together and with the solutions to our concerns and all the talk that we've done. Go over and over again. Does anybody realize that the original people of this land were not in any of the design? You see the sports, you see the survive. Reality. We have a standing that we want to, and nobody willing to take that position and stand on that. Realize where the faults are, where the wrong are involved, and with this analyzation of this. And there's a space, because as long as we all can understand how they're using reality had comment into we can't understand talk with this United Nations assessment, then we're reaching the beginning of begin. General Assembly, recognizing, this is what the nation says, recognizing also the urgent need to respect and promote affirm treaties and other constructive arrangements with the state.
Yes, the word treaties is encoded, and it involves a which and the that are in concerning what they call the Day of Redemption that happened in December of 2012. Treaties are covenants bona fide. Of the operation of the creator of the universe. Everyone understand it. Scare a Christian. Tell them God's real. If you say, I said we really do have this field, this spiritual a background of being extra, and it's trying to slide it in very slowly, gradually. And the other thing is that the sanctuaries of the churches, the incorporated churches, have really done a lot of damage to the preeminent leadership, and that involves the word virtues. Go ahead, Art.
Can we go through control their lands will enable them to maintain and strengthen their institutions, traditions, and to promote the development operations and needs.
From
Well,
what happened to the indigenous people in the first place? Problem like this, why? Because you didn't cooperate. You didn't stand up against white invaders. You didn't I mean, just like we've got Mexican up for them. And maybe you should have listened to.
This is a very charged question. It's very so I'm going to, and Art's asking me to answer that question. Offices. You need to say, I have a question, and ask it. Now, it's very interesting because there was a lot of people that stood up, but they were never the majority. The depredation and the warfare in America and this northern continent was not become of a mobile force that was constantly moving and retreating. So you ended up with a lot of people in a
right now to do is organize this fear, not to be afraid, and to to somehow organize here so we don't being genocided by these.
Well. Let me follow this to where you. First of all, the modern era of warfare is certainly in progress, and I've seen about the combat on the debate of killing people with drones as opposed to both modern warfare is an interdiction campaign, and it's very gradual. And the first thing is to either recruit or destroy the hearts and minds. And as Art and many people know, the heart responds before the brain. In a society that is upside down, the brain tells the spirit what to do. And that goes to this word aspiration. The encoded words are certainly collective people, affect, enabling institutions. And what we're getting at is that the UN collective personalities are about persons, and it extends to spiritual property. So there's a very long thing, unify religions. We have to do all of this. And that's where it's going. President Bush announced in 1980, he pronounced these words. He said a new world where diverse nations are together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Security. So when I hear somebody say common, what do we have all in common cause? I'm going to say, well, you agree with George Bush, don't you? So we have to be careful about this regard, primacy in environment, and there's primacy of property. The UN Charter go to the you are property, your spiritual property. Go ahead, Art. Good. The Station 11, I think it is, recognizing that respect for indigenous knowledge, cultures, and traditional practices contribute to the sustainable, equitable development and proper management of the environment. What they're talking about is you get into this idea of Catholic doctrine, which is back to the one heaven presumptions and shared responsibility. The encoding development gotten to the point it's evolved in Indian country. Christian product, and this is advertised everywhere. You can get your plastic Jeep, put it on the dashboard. So that has moved into Indian country in what is called super use. Seeing is most around religion and spiritual matters as a volcano exploding, coming out the top. So we're talking primacy in the environment, where we have dollars coming out of the volcano. Values known as neutral, which is taught in the market and standards, which is talking of unity, common purpose, all these words that are encoded. Go ahead, Art. Okay. Yeah, that's 12, next one. Emphasizing the contribution of the declaration of the land and territories of indigenous people to peace, economic and social progress, and development, understanding and friendly relations among nations and people of the world. The demilitarization is really false. It's not demilitarization, it's all its capstone doctrine, commingling the civil and military operations such as in the radicalization, homegrown terrorism acts within the interior, as well as the facade of Patriot Act series and parallel authorities. And progress, which is included, progress, belief in progress was some of the things that came out of Napoleon Bonaparte's tenure and regime. And the Marxists believe in progress. So really we have is a corporate structure that believes that it has a spirit. The reason corporations are organized property, and includes all of religious corporations. And when you go back in and you trace the ownership of these called states, you'll see they belong to. Good example is in Indian reservations, you have dioceses, sanctuaries that are known to be free from prosecution. So the militarization really is a new kind of facade. It's not going to be demilitarized. What it really goes to is preventing people from becoming their own militia. Standing certainly is an good word, and that goes to the Freemasonry doctrine.
All right, I'm going to take a call here from Benny Mills, another auditor within.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, Benny.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
yeah, my name is Benny Mills. I'm also a field auditor for Infrspect.
Yes, sir, and you also forgot to hit one. That's why I didn't get to you sooner. You only come up if you hit one, but I found your number and recognized you, so I brought you up. You've been hearing the conversation.
Okay, what,
Ahead.
I'm speaking from my personal point of view, my personal travels of the world. I came from the universe, on a spiritual journey. I traveled from the spiritual world to this world. And in order to get into this world, I had to travel this long tunnel that was polluted. I had to come in on life support. This world, on April 1939, I was 9 months old on the first day when I arrived here. I was disconnected from my life support. The umbilical cord was cut. When I entered this world, I entered as a baby. And then my started about the atmosphere. We have two identities when we one is from the mother, from the father. So if you look at our baby baskets that we're putting in, we look at the information on the hood, and when the design is connected, that indicates this is a female baby. And the female holds the family together. He's the one that goes out. He's the family. First. Basically, is short. I was granted a corporate name, and my name is Benny Mills. I was assigned to identity. And it's quite funny, when I was listening to this, I went to the Black's Law Dictionary of corporation, and I'm hearing quite frequently. We have corporate churches. We go to corporal means relating to the body.
I just don't have time for this. We've got just minutes left. I'm trying to reach a point here. I'm trying to get some resolution here. Somehow we can do something to make this better, to work together. And I'm still not getting that. John, I'm getting a little frustrated here.
Well, maybe I can short my presentation a little quick.
I'd appreciate that. Make it quick. I wasn't planning on taking calls here, and all came down to get here. Give a shit about that. You understand that? Don't be rude. I'm tired of bullshit. I'm going to get some answers. Go ahead.
On this, say it the words a long time ago in front of a public audience. Read the declaration.
read the declaration by this abstraction of problems that causes confusion. And as you've said, you're confused. And you're confused because you need to look at the value system, and as we have, and we're very keen on looking at our own value systems. So what happens is that you're dealing with field auditors that have already accomplished this. And Benny's relation is very direct and very real. Now, there's a difference between the common purpose and what actual. And if you struggle with dysfunction, then you're on struggling. Solution or pollution with these matters. Benny, you want to pick this up? Yeah.
I'll just take a minute to recap. What I started is we have a value system between a man and a woman. The Creator gave us 5 senses, and using those five senses, we make a decision to go one or the other. And why we're not on page 1, page 2. We all have ways, our own system of making decisions. What is right and what is wrong. And when I leave this world, I'll re-enter the spiritual world. And the a well-respected person will say a prayer over my grave and tell me to continue.
Okay, good, Benny. Going to answer Clay's question about why the indigenous people in this country didn't on our behalf before. Let me tell a little story. Back in the early 1700s, our people were having a council over here, and all of a sudden, some man come walking out of the canyon, dressed in a blue robe, he had a hairy face. He comes down and he sat with the council of the Tomo, as we call them, the head men of the council. And he came down and he introduced himself. He sat down with the local people, and he told them who he was, where he came us. The water issue of Lake Tahoe and California, and what we were to be prepared for when these people came to our land. And so, after that story was told to us, that man walked away and he went back and disappeared. And then our people, no information of this, what this person had said. Man. We made a plan. We put our medicine to sleep. We put our spiritual self to sleep. So when the people came to my land, the immigrants of this came to this land, they were looking for the true spirit of the washout. They couldn't find it. They killed most of us off, and they figured that they had gotten rid of it. And what our plan was after the people came to this land and they thought they had gotten rid of what the heart of the Washoe people were, then that's when we turned back to our place on this land, and we will be reborn. And that's what we're doing now. Those who are being reborn, like Blair, myself, and others that have returned back to the spirit of our original selves. It's really hard for people in this country to conceive that a nation of beings to return to the land without the help of the man, the religion, the politics, the law. We are here. What we are doing now is those of us that are being reborn. We're going to do some of this stuff, Clay, to teach you, educate you on what the United Nations doctrines are dictating to us. dictating to just the Indian nations, or the original nations, it's dictating to us all in this country. And that goes down enough to understand what these phrases that I am saying, and then the assessment that William has given you, you will have an answer. You will come to a conclusion of what we're going to do and what we can do. Don't slow down enough to be able to go through this document. We will never really see that's happening to us all. So look at this. Look at this next one. I think it's right here. Ready, William?
I'm clear.
Okay, recognizing and go ahead, William.
Go ahead.
This one here is notation 13. Recognizing in particular the right of Indigenous families and communities to retain shared responsibilities, upbringing, training, education, and well-being of their consistent with the rights of the child.
A shared responsibility certainly is the collaborative thing. It extricates the people from the decision making, and the responsibility is really collective, and it goes to the stakeholders within the institutional framework in education. Education is gone behind and beyond the learning and is now to a form educational plan. The attachment, the identity theft brief, I think it's attachment 9, goes to the comparative tables. These are tools that people can use not only understand where what's happening, where they want to go in terms of education. The tables are very clear. They're color-coded. They're very detailed. How do you start with education? Goes into the comparative tables of kinds of education, such as public school, religious theology, chartered corporations, military academy, the tribe, and another one in modernized as proposed immersion. And basically, proposed immersion is where you go in and you declare man, woman, families at risk, and then you start a process of resocialization. The third examination of the education learning aspect is very important because this is obviously now it's being used and it's easy to use. People can check to see what kind of education they're providing for themselves and their children, so-called future generations. And that is there. It's certainly is educational in the same sense that we do a believability rating. We're actually evaluating the technique used by more sophisticated operative conditioners. Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, I think kind of important. We're going to get towards the end of the time here, but Clay wanted an assessment of the rating of his show. Maybe we could go into that right now, William. What do you think?
How many minutes we got left, Clayton?
15.
15 minutes, okay. On the believability rating, which we've done several samples, what we do we actually use criteria, and I believe a copy in our archives now of the B rating. And what happens is that through and we map it when somebody says to us, then they can look at their own words. What are they saying? And I'm not going to give you a rating, but I'll talk to you individually. The reason is that it's a matter of security reports. I'm not going to give your adversaries a chance to actually apprehend about your show or anyone on it. So I'll reserve that, but the understand that it is criteria that is used against you in a lot of campaigns to isolate you, to alienate you, to disenfranchise you, and to criminalize you and turn you into a candidate for treatment, or socialization, or punishment. So when people, as I have told you before, go after you in a hostile, aggressive nature, then to study them. We're going to see their methods. We're going to see the pattern. And determine what kind of the system is being used to perpetrate the treatment or protection of you under law. And that's very important because most agency-based activists feel they're very clever. They use judgment, elicitation protocols. And they're very complex when they speak on the talk shows and the media. So we went in and we look at the media in itself. And as they speak, their words can and will be used against if that's what it takes. And that's where it goes, because in your situation, it was known right away that we were going to have to evaluate your believability ratings. How do you speak? What do you speak to? And what criteria we're applying. And the rating system goes from 1 to 10. Now that's interesting. We really weren't interested 1 to 9. That's right. We really staying at 1 to 9. Because 10 is an inverse number, and there is no 0. As you speak, we have literally a recurrent dialogue, conversation. And it's very easy to see speech encoding, especially Delphi technique or thought reform or mind control or values and brainwashing or conversational hypnosis. So we watched that, and we found that we were a little bit humorous, but I'm glad that you don't have a goose step at the end of your phrases and words, because we've seen that. It's almost humorous. There's an inflection that's like in the sonic handshake, only it's academic. And that means if you speak and you raise your voice and phrase a certain way, you're literally showing that you are in unity with other agencies, people who have been trained to use that syntax and that expression. So rest assured that I can give you an evaluation, but I won't do it on the air, because when you have predatory people, and I mean that come at you and your program, because you are different. You're not going with the institutional normative rationale, the bandwagon effect, this conscious individual, the unity pitch, which is really centered a lot around the British Empire's ambition. So anyway, I'll give you that off the air. Art, did you want to go with this?
I don't understand. You are worried about scaring my audience small, or just scaring trolls out there, and the I can walk into a room that's Jews in there, and they're both after me, trying to attack me within a half hour. John, you got you let me hear some input from you. What happened here?
Are we there?
See what I lost here.
I had a question. Anybody left?
I'm here.
Okay, it is.
We got Blair Tag.
Your own
picked up.
What do you have to say,
both of you,
to
the population of
this country that is still on the level of listening to presidential debates? What is the first recommendation you have to free them from this and become more whole as human beings?
You want to lead off of this? Okay. The first thing is that they're certainly corporate officers, and they have a fiduciary responsibility. Understanding that some people you'll even do the right thing means a last resort. I would say ratings on all the candidates, and that I'll make sure that is provided to everybody that's interested. And it'll be based on their words, and the primary word will be trustworthiness. Interest diagram, lay out a map of how to take all of these. And if I were to say, it's the more they speak, the less they say. They really shut up and listen to themselves. And we need to go back and sit down with the people in their life that they normally don't listen. And they have to go back and try, no matter how hard to be. They need to go back and be statesmen and stateswoman. Means certainly, keeping it simple-minded is not going to get it through. Right now, I see the cursor. I would anticipate that the average candidate is going to be believable. The actual belief. 32, and it deals with a lot of that deals with media will manipulate to get that trustworthiness back with the media spokesperson candidate. And a desperation among the candidates don't have any convictions, although they have top values, they don't have any trustworthiness. Also, but I want to tell you guys, one time we were at a law conference up in Oregon, and it was at the USLD's in Canada. And the questions there were on the Indigenous people to ask questions. And a lot of the questions we had were real surface because people that understand that the original people talk when we talk by the heart. And so it's real. Back. Every time we had a question, William would raise his hand and be point on. And these lawyers were getting to where whenever they would say something, William would pretty soon they wouldn't pick William anymore. They wouldn't answer. Double talking, so I raised my hand, and they said, what would you like to say, Art? My question is pretty deep, and I think I'll have William ask it. So William asked answer, and after everything closed up, standing around meeting, and after the meeting, the lawyers had William surrounded over there. And
They were asking him who was he to have the right to ask those kind of questions. But next to William, and he put his hand on me and said, "This is my client." And those lawyers have a long job. And I looked at the lawyers, and I put my hand on William's shoulder and I said, "You know, every good Indian
the spiritual
life these days, and certainly missing from the debate. Watching the debates, who don't know where to turn, see when they listen to one lie after another up there, their own spirit. But how do you cut across act from spirit when they're trapped in their own dogma and really have
matter of dogma and doctrine. Because you have law of the land, then you have the courtroom, which is banker, the judge is the banker, and then you have the ecclesiastical law. And we have to break through that presumption, and the presumption is they're even are you even speaking or you doctrine. And the matter will be simply to we understand before and after shape. And when you get down to questions like that, it really takes a you have after found constantly in the deep field audits is that people are afraid of being afraid. The healing energy is out there, the frequency, healing frequency is real, and so they have to get back into the in the closet, universe, and God is over a particular galaxy. They have the material interest, which is societal thing, and it has been very carefully separated. So that individual to take their left and am I going to go with my intuition like a woman intuition, and is that going to drive my brain? Now, the scientist, the heart responds, and the brain follows. They know that that's big gurus than science, and they'll say that. So we have to look at that person, slow them down, and what we do in a situation. We put people in a fairly risky situation where they believe they're at risk, and we run them through the matrix. And at the end of it, they come out a different person. And it's like running through a rapid, a very high classified rapid.
William, we're out of time here. We're out of time. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. John, would you like to close up for me?
Thank you guys for sharing that with me.
You're welcome.
All right, and thank you very much. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you, William.
Okay.
Oh, bye.
Thank you, Clay.